You've heard of the CIA. You've heard of the FBI. You've heard of Mossad, MI6, the KGB. But there is one intelligence agency so secretive, so deliberately invisible, that even most Germans don't know it exists. No flashy headquarters, no public profile, no famous operations you can Google, no movies made about them, no documentaries, no whistleblowers. Just silence and shadows. And somewhere inside the German military, a group of men and women whose entire job is to make sure you never know they exist. They are the MAD. Militärischer Abschirmdienst, Germany's military counterintelligence service. And today, you are one of them. Starting from the very bottom, if you make it to the end of this video, you'll reach the rank nobody ever talks about. Let's begin. Rank 1, the recruit. You don't walk into the MAD. Nobody walks into the MAD. You are selected for the MAD. One day you're a regular Bundeswehr recruit, Germany's armed forces, doing your standard military training somewhere in the cold gray of a German base, push-ups at 5 in the morning, drill sergeants who look at you like you personally disappointed their entire bloodline. The usual. You're not special yet. You don't feel special. But someone, somewhere, has already noticed you. See, the MAD doesn't post job listings. They don't have a careers page. What they have is observers. People who watch recruits during basic training, during psychological evaluations, during stress tests, looking for very specific things. They're looking for the one who watches, the one who notices things before being told to notice them, the one who stays calm when everything is loud, the one who, when given two versions of a story, quietly asks, which one is true? And so one afternoon, a man in civilian clothes sits across from you in a small room. No rank on his collar, no introduction. He slides a single sheet of paper across the table and says 6 words that will change your entire life. We'd like to talk to you. Welcome to the beginning. Rank 2, the observer. You accept. Of course you accept. And then, nothing happens. That's the first lesson the MAD teaches you without ever saying it out loud. Nothing moves fast here. Everything moves deliberately. You spend the next phase of your career doing something that sounds almost insultingly boring for a spy agency. Paperwork, reports, files, assessments, cross-referencing names, dates, locations, affiliations, building profiles on people from nothing but fragments, a phone record here, a travel log there, a name mentioned twice in 2 separate documents from 2 separate sources 3 years apart. You sit in a room that has no windows, not because they're hiding you from the world, but because there are no windows in rooms where classified documents live, and you read. Hours, days, weeks. Your colleagues at other agencies, at the BND, Germany's foreign intelligence, they're out in the field. They have stories. You have a desk lamp and a cold cup of coffee. But here's what nobody tells you about this rank. This is actually where you become dangerous, because while everyone else is chasing action, you were learning the most important skill in intelligence work: pattern recognition. You start seeing things in the data that aren't obvious. A soldier who visits a certain city 4 times in 1 year, and each time, exactly 3 days later, a security breach happens somewhere in the same military district. Coincidence? Most people would say yes. You start saying no. You write a report. Your supervisor reads it, puts it down, picks it up again, reads it a second time, calls you into his office. How did you see this? You shrug. You don't fully know yet, you just saw it. He nods slowly, makes a note, dismisses you. 2 weeks later, your file is moved to a different pile. The pile that means you're going somewhere. Rank 3, intelligence officer. Now they put you in the field, and the field is nothing like the movies. There are no car chases, no exotic locations, no beautiful strangers handing you flash drives in Vienna train stations. The field is a Tuesday afternoon in Cologne. You're sitting in a cafe drinking a coffee you ordered 20 minutes ago and haven't touched because you've been watching the man at the corner table, who has met 3 different people in 2 hours, shaken hands with each of them, and each time, very casually, very naturally, past something small between palms. Most people wouldn't notice. You notice. Your job at this rank is surveillance, human surveillance, the kind that technology cannot replace, because a camera can capture what happens, but only a trained human mind can understand why it's happening and what it means. You follow people for days, sometimes weeks. You learn their routines better than they know their routines. You know what time they leave for work, which route they take when they're relaxed, which route they take when they're careful, because those two routes are different, and the difference tells you everything. You learn to be invisible in plain sight, unremarkable, forgettable. You dress like nobody, you walk like nobody. If someone looked at you on the street, their eyes would slide right off you, like water off glass, and they would not remember your face 3 seconds later. That's not an accident, that's a skill you have been deliberately trained to perform. You were becoming something rare, not a soldier, not a spy in the Hollywood sense, something more precise, a human ghost. But ghosts, it turns out, have a problem. They start to lose track of which world they actually belong to. The watching becomes so constant, so total, that you begin doing it everywhere. At dinner, with your family, you're cataloging exits. On a date, you're assessing whether she's asking too many questions about your work. At a friend's birthday party, you catch yourself timing how long each guest stays in the room with the birthday boy alone. You are becoming very good at your job, and slowly, quietly, your job is becoming you.
Rank 4, Case Officer. They give you your first case, a real one, your own, your name on the file. Well, not your real name, obviously, your operational designation on the file. A Bundeswehr officer in a senior communications role has been behaving strangely. Small things, the kind of things that wouldn't make a single alarm go off anywhere. But you remember what pattern recognition taught you. It's never one thing. It's always 3 small things that seem unrelated until the moment they very suddenly are. This is your case now, your responsibility, your call. You build the operation from scratch. You decide who watches him, when, from where. You decide which of his communications get flagged. You decide when to let something slide, because sometimes letting a threat breathe is how you find out who's feeding it. This is the rank where you realize intelligence work is chess, slow, invisible chess, where the other player doesn't know a game is being played. Every move you make has to be 3 moves ahead. If you spook him too early, he runs, the network disappears, years of work evaporate overnight. If you move too late, the damage is already done, and classified information is already somewhere it should never be. You have to be exactly on time, not early, not late, exactly. The pressure of this rank is unlike anything you experienced before, because it's not physical pressure, it's cognitive weight, constant, 24 hours. You wake up at 3 in the morning running scenarios. You eat lunch going over conversation transcripts in your head. Your mind never fully stops working the case. And then the break comes. It always comes, if you're patient enough. A meeting that shouldn't happen, a location that means something, a name that appears in your case file that you've seen before, in a completely different case file, 3 years old, that most people would have forgotten about. You didn't forget. You never forget. You make the call, the operation moves, and when it's done, when the case is closed and the threat is neutralized and the report is filed, your supervisor shakes your hand, doesn't say much, just nods with the particular expression that in MAD culture is equivalent to a standing ovation. Rank 5, Division Chief. You stop working cases. This is the hardest transition you'll ever make in this career, and nobody prepares you for it. You became extraordinary at being in the field, at seeing, watching, hunting, closing. It was yours. It was the thing you were born for. And now, they take it away from you because you're too valuable to risk in the field anymore. Because what's inside your head, the decade of pattern recognition, the instincts, the institutional knowledge, the network of contacts and sources you've spent years building, is worth more behind a desk than in a cafe on a Tuesday afternoon. Now you run other people in the field.
You are the architect. You design the operations. You place the people. You define the objectives. You make the calls that other people execute. And you sit in a building, waiting for reports to come back. It is psychological torture because you know, better than anyone, all the things that can go wrong in the field. You've been in those situations. You know the margins, the razor-thin difference between a clean operation and a catastrophic one. And now you have to send other people into those margins and trust them. Trust, the one skill the MAD never explicitly trained you in. But this rank teaches you something that the field never could. Responsibility at scale. When you were in the field, your decisions affected one case, one target, one thread in the fabric. Now, your decisions affect hundreds of active operations simultaneously. You are no longer a piece on the board. You are someone who moves pieces. And the weight of that is a different kind of war entirely.
Rank 6. Vice President. There are people in Germany who run major corporations, who appear on television, who shake hands with politicians and get photographed at events and have their names in newspapers. You are not one of those people. You are more powerful than most of them, and absolutely nobody knows your name. At this rank, you stop existing in the public sense entirely. You have no LinkedIn profile, no public record. Your name does not appear in any press release, any government statement, any official capacity that the public has access to. You attend meetings in buildings that are not on any public map, with people who also do not officially exist in the capacity in which you are meeting them. You discuss threats to German national security that the German public will never be told about. Purpose without applause. The country where they complain about train delays and argue about football and go on vacation exists in that peace partly because of work you will never be thanked for. You are the reason the story had no ending, because the ending was the threat that never happened, the attack that was stopped before it started, the agent that was turned before the damage was done. You were the dog that didn't bark, and only you will ever know what that means. Rank 7. The President. There is one seat at the very top, one person who sits above everything, who has seen every file, run every operation, weathered every crisis that this agency has faced, and is still standing. You, the President of the MAD. And on your first morning in this chair, it is not what you expected. It is quiet, terrifyingly quiet, the kind of quiet that presses on you with the weight of everything it represents. On your desk is a briefing folder. Today's threats, real ones, not hypothetical, not training scenarios, real threats to real people in a real country that has no idea how close the edge is at any given moment. You read it, all of it, without expression, and then you make decisions, quietly, deliberately, without drama, without press conferences or announcements or explanations. You make calls that reshape the intelligence landscape. You approve operations that will take years to complete. You shut down threats that the public will read about someday in declassified documents 40 years from now. They will never know it was you. Your name will not be in those documents. You were the architect, the shadow, the ghost at the top of the machine. And you realize, sitting in the most powerful intelligence chair in the German military, that this was always what the job was asking of you, from that very first day when a man in plain clothes slid a piece of paper across a table and said 6 words, "We'd like to talk to you." He saw something in you that you didn't know was there yet, the capacity for total, absolute selfless invisibility, the ability to protect everything and claim nothing. That's not a job. That's a calling. Somewhere in Germany right now, there is a person in plain clothes sitting in a cafe, drinking a coffee they ordered 20 minutes ago and haven't touched, watching. You will never know their name. You will never see their face on the news. You will never read their story. But they are there, and because they are there, you are safe.
That is the life of every MAD agent rank, from the recruit who was noticed to the president who was never known, the most powerful ghost in the German military, and you never even knew they existed. Until now.